Now we are going to discuss about the example of 1,4-disubstituted chair conformer of cyclohexane. In this particular 1,4-disubstituted chair conformer of cyclohexane, one POS is passing like this. This is the plane of symmetry that is generally drawn with a dotted in this. This is the POS and it's existing in this particular example, and COS is also present. How I am saying COS is present? Just consider this particular center as an inversion center, and if you are going upside you are getting hydrogen, if you are going downside you are getting hydrogen, if you are getting below towards this particular side CH3, and if you are getting on this particular side you are getting CH3. That's why center of symmetry is existing, because if I am saying you have to go in opposite direction, if you are going upside then you are going to reflect from the downside in inversion center. If you are going on this particular downside, then you have to reflect through the upside of the environment, because it's 180-degree opposite direction. You have to move from the inversion center, you have to move 180-degree on the opposite sides. So this is an example of optically inactive chair conformer of cyclohexane when it is 1,4-disubstituted. Now consider, this is a very important chart. Now consider this, just consider heterotopic. In this, heterotopic means when one is axial and another is equatorial. Just for the sake of convenience, just assume this, that heterotopic, these two hydrogens are heterotopic in nature. I am not going to tell you the complete detail of heterotopic, homotopic, because this is the concept we are doing in the stereochemistry after RNS nomenclature. Just consider this is a cyclohexane, and in this particular cyclohexane we are going to replace these things. Just consider this is a cyclohexane and you have to replace this particular HA by a particular substituent R1. Just consider R1, these are arbitrary groups. These are arbitrary groups in organic chemistry. These are arbitrary groups. So now if this particular HA, this HA is replaced by R1, then this is an R1, then this, and if you are going to replace HE with R1, then you are getting one on axial and another on equatorial. Then these two are axial and these two are equatorial isomers of each other, because our one group is on axial position and our another group is on equatorial position. Now consider further. If you are going to consider further, this is 1,3-disubstitute. How I am saying? Because now this axial is replaced by R2. Axial is replaced by R2. When you are going to replace the H axial with R2, then you are getting 1,3. And if you are going to replace your equatorial with R2, then you are getting trans. Why I am saying this? Because one is upside, and if one is up and other is down, then is trans. Trans means that one bond is upside and another bond is downside, then that is trans. And cis, when you have the stereochemistry of same thing, both are upside, this one and this one is upside, then this is cis case. Now I am going to re-explain this. Just consider cyclohexane in which one hydrogen is axial and other is equatorial. When one hydrogen is axial and other is equatorial, we are called that particular hydrogen as heterotopic hydrogens. Now if I am going to replace my hydrogen with R1, then this particular getting an axial isomer, and if I am going to replace this particular equatorial hydrogen with R1, then we are getting an equatorial isomer. We are getting the two isomers. I am considering this particular case first. Just to replace on third position, because we have studied about 1,3-disubstituted cyclohexanes. I am telling like how 1,3-disubstituted cyclohexanes can be cis and trans, because this is another parameter of stereochemistry that you have learned. So you have to be learned about this. So if I am going to replace the axial ones with the R1 or R2, just I am replacing the axial one with arbitrary group R. This particular example I am talking about. If I am going to replace this particular hydrogen with R2, then I am going to get a cis point. Why I am saying cis? Because this is the case of the cyclohexane. If I am saying one is R1 on this particular side and one is this particular side, this is cis. Why this is cis? Because this particular R is on upside and this particular R is also on upside. So that's why both are on upsides. That's why this is a cis case, na? And that's why I am saying. And if you are going to consider about trans, just consider this particular case when you have one R on this particular axial bond, one R on axial and other is equatorial. This is R2 and this is R1. I am saying if one is upside and other is downside, then that is known as trans. This is trans 1,3-disubstituted cyclohexane, and this is cis 1,3-disubstituted cyclohexane. This is very important chart that you have to remember. Now consider an equatorial isomer. Now change your axial HA. Now change your HA with R2. Just change your HA with R2. When you are going to change your HA with R2, this is trans, because one is down and one is up, one is down and one is up, then this is the case of trans. And if I'm saying I have to change my equatorial with R2, then my one R2 is down, other is down, then this is cis. So at the end you are getting the 1,3 di-substituted trans, cis and trans in terms of axial and equatorial isomers. This is very important chart that you have to remember, because you have to replace first HA with HA. You have to replace first of all HA with R1. You have to replace on the third position HA and axial and equatorial with different substituents. Then you are giving rise to cis and trans isomers. In axial you are getting the two isomers trans and cis. In equatorial you are getting the two isomers, that is trans and cis. And if in cyclohexane you are getting your product on same side, on same side, if you are getting your product on same side, this is the same side, then this is cis. And if you are getting your products on different sides, then that is trans. Now consider this particular thing. It's generally have drawn this particular structure so that you are able to know how the molecules are rotated, but there is no need of that to do in exams. It's just for understanding the concepts. I'm mentioning this, it's just for understanding, but not to solve your question in the exams point of view, because you have to learn something in stereochemistry, and for learning you know how to understand the things. Learning needs understanding, and if you are going to learn something, so you have to understand that thing, and after that you are able to learn or memorize that thing. Just for understanding you have to learn this thing. Just consider the cyclohexane chair form, just understanding, just for the point of understanding, because if you are cramming a particular table for 1,3 di-substituted products, then you know why you are doing, why you are learning this particular thing. There is a scientific reason behind each and everything that you are going to memorize in the organic chemistry or stereochemistry, particularly if I am talking about. Just consider this, one is axial and one is equatorial. One is axial and one is equatorial. I have a plane and I have made the mirror image of this particular. Axial is forming the mirror images in axial, you have to mention that. And equatorial on third position is getting the equatorial on second position. Just the shape of this particular slant line changes in the mirror images. This is a mirror image when you are plotting this, and if you are going to plot the mirror image, you have to plot like this, because this is reflected like this. This chair conformer is reflected like this chair conformer. Getting what I am saying? And axial will convert in axial. Axial is converted into axial. Axial is converting into axial, and equatorial is converting into equatorial. There is no change in the nature of the bones when you are drawing the mirror images. When you are trying to plot the mirror images, there is no change in the nature of the bones. You have to memorize this thing as well. No change in the nature of bone. No change in the nature of bond. Now consider the rotation as well. Nature of bond. There is no change in the nature of bond. Now consider about the rotation as well. Just consider I am rotating this particular thing because sometimes it will get flipped. Ring flipping concept in stereochemistry, I will explain you in detail about the ring flipping of cyclohexane in neutral rotations as well. Just consider this particular axial is converting into equatorial and this equatorial is converting into axial. Always remember that ring flipping is a very important topic in stereochemistry, and ring flipping results if axial is up. If axial up is flipped into equatorial up. You have to know that if axial up, then equatorial is up. In ring flipping, you have to memorize this thing because it becomes very easier for you to draw the conformers. Equatorial up. Just consider you have equatorial up, that is converting into axial up in ring flipping. And if you have axial down, in the ring flipping parameters, if you are drawing the conformer after the ring flipping, axial down is converting into equatorial down. I will prove this thing in the stereochemistry lecture when we are learning about the ring flipping parameters. Then now consider this particular is a ring flipping. This is ring flipping that is going to happening here. Ring flipping. Now consider ring flipping upside down. This is particular axial up is converting into equatorial up, and this is particular equatorial down converting into axial down. Now consider this particular conformer is converting into this conformer. This conformer is upside down. We are going to rotate this particular conformer. We have rotated this, and if we are going to rotate the point, this particular carbon is going this side and this particular carbon is going on this side because we are rotating. this particular carbon is going on this side and this particular carbon is going on this side, because we have put this particular 3 here and one is getting here and this is getting down and this is also getting down. So that's why if you are going to rotate, the rotation is like this. This rotation is very complicated to understand, so for the sake of convenience and understanding, we have drawn some tables, that is 1 3 substituted, 1 2 die substituted, 1 4 die substituted. So you have to remember about 1 2 case, you have to remember about 1 3 case, and you have to remember about 1 4 case. This is very important, because if you are not learning this particular tables and the concepts, then you have to proceed like this in each and every example. So I request you to please go through this 1 2 1 3 and 1 4 tables with examples and with proper understandings, and after getting the understanding, you have to learn this thing. If you are getting understanding of a particular concepts, then there is no need to learn or cram that thing, because that understanding is more than sufficient in the exams to solve your questions.